Hi friends, hope you are doing fine. I'm Dr. Ganguly. Welcome to my channel. So today I will discuss some issues which are faced by people on dependent visas, and essentially these are visas given in US for people who are spouses of workers or students. So essentially if you are somebody who has got an H-1B visa, then your spouse will get an H-4 visa. If you are somebody with an L1 visa, your spouse is going to get an L2 visa. And if you are somebody with an F1 visa, your spouse is going to get an F2 visa. Now in some of these visa categories, for example, the H4 and the L2, you are allowed to work if you get an EAD. So you need to confirm this with uscis, and then you may be able to apply for jobs. Now it often takes a lot of time to get the EAD. Now for F2 people, it is of course much more complex situation, but again, instead of just staying at home, you can use this time to take some courses and keep your skills going. So essentially today I'm going to discuss the issue of how to keep your resume living while you are on these visa status. So let's look at some of the issues which can help you here. Now certainly the fact that you are on these visas will create a gap in your resume, and nowadays many women are working, so it's something which is not good for them psychologically and mentally also, not to be doing things at all if they are staying at home. So what can you do in this situation? So of course one possibility could be that you could go to a college, university, or a community college and take some courses, but as many of you know, the cost of education in US is very high, particularly in colleges and so on. And there is the possibility, of course, of taking a course or two every semester at a community college, but this also entails some level of complexity and may entail a decent amount of spending, going to the university, and so on. So I'll look at aspects which are easy to do, and the first such aspect is the Google Data Analyst certificate. Now essentially this is a certificate course brought out by Google through Coursera, and they teach you many things in this course. They teach you about spreadsheets, about SQL, the R programming language, Tableau, RStudio, Kaggle, and so on. So essentially, if you are not familiar with this field, what is happening in the world of data today is that a lot of companies want to collect data, want to process data, want to clean this data, want to visualize this data, and then finally want to extract some information from this data. So essentially this process completely is known as data analysis, and it's very important, and many companies are trying to use these processes to make themselves more productive. So essentially, since you have access to so much data, you can always figure out many things about your customer. For example, you could figure out what your customer wants to buy at a given point of time. You could figure out which customers are good for giving loans. We can figure out any fraud possibilities in credit card transaction, or if people are doing fraud in health insurance, and so on. So again, some of the important sectors here are insurance, banking, finance sectors in general, also healthcare sectors. These are going to be big users of data science. In general, anybody who can collect data on their customers will be a big user of different aspects of data science. Now, as far as this program is concerned, this of course gives you a lot of study material which you can access through the internet, and also there are hands-on activities, there are quizzes, there are homeworks, and there are regular assessments. So the cost of this is $49 per month, and you can do this in 6 months, or if you want you can do it in less time also. So this is one way to account for at least 6 months of your time. So if people ask you what you are doing for the last 6 months, you can say that you are doing the Google Data Analytics certificate. Now the next resource you have is the public library, and this is a resource which is free to you. This was done by Jefferson, I think, in US, that he created this system of public libraries, and this is something I really like about the US system and the US government. So essentially, if you go to any public library, you will see that there is a section on computer books, and here you will easily get books such as books on R, Python, Java, SQL, machine learning, TensorFlow, and so on. And if you are a neophyte, you can even get books on Excel, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and projects. So essentially, these are certain resources which are there for you. You can very easily get a public library card, and you can borrow these books for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then if you return them on time, you will not be fined also. So this is a very good idea to actually spend some time going beyond the R programming language, which is taught in the Google course, and also learn Python. So essentially, the reason Google is using R for this course is because if you are somebody who is coming from a completely non-technical background, then R is a very good way to learn how to handle data, because R was designed primarily by statistics people, and so it has a lot of nice built-in functions and powerful tools which can be used to work with data. So that's one of the biggest advantage of the R programming language and the Google certificate is you may be a graduate in arts or commerce or literature for that matter, and you can very easily pick up the R programming language. Now, I would say my Python friends will certainly disagree with it. Python also has a huge amount of tools which have come up. Now, if you are interested in that, I would say that's a good follow-on language beyond R, and like I mentioned before, you can use the public library to access that, or you can easily buy a book from Barnes and Noble or from Amazon, as the case may be, on Python. Now, the next aspect is if you have completed the first course on data analysis from Google, you can look at the second course, and that is the advanced data analytics course. And essentially, in this course, they will teach you what is known as data science. Now, generally, data science is the elder brother of data analytics, and this involves a study of Python. There is much more statistics now. There is regression analysis, there is machine learning, and there is some aspect of computer programming in Python. Now, one of the advantages of Python is that there are several libraries, the most important one being Pandas. And if you are somebody who is familiar with Excel, you will find that Pandas is very similar, very easy to learn, and also very powerful. If you are working with tables of data, so Pandas is going to be your best friend. Now, this is of course a library, not the actual Chinese panda here, so keep that in mind. There are also ways in Python to use machine learning. So there is Scikit Learn, you can use machine learning there. There are also tools where you can use natural language processing and such things. So again, once you get started with Python, you will find that it is very easy to get deeper into Python and its libraries, and start with Python, Numpy, Pandas, and then expand to Scikit Learn, PyTorch, and so on. So essentially, you are going to find a lot of material on the internet, including on YouTube, which are free. So you can certainly learn some of these things. Now, of course, the advantage of the certification course is it's something you can put on your resume. So again, remember that the Google Advanced Data Analytics course will teach you many of the aspects here. You can supplement it by your visits to the public library, and with that you can essentially become more or less a pretty well-rounded data scientist, as the case may be. So one of the advantages of Google, of course, is that it gives you some hands-on activities, some projects, quizzes, and so on. And also there is a set of companies which would like to hire people who have completed this course, and Google provides you with some information about that also. Now 6 more months go by and you need to kill more time. So I would say the next course you can take is something known as project management. Now, of course, most of us are doing project management all the time. So whenever you are planning a vacation with your family, or even you are planning to hold a party to celebrate a kid's birthday. These are all examples of projects. So essentially we go about it in a certain manner. We need to plan the project, we need to have a timeline, we need to estimate the costs, we need to make sure that all the things are delivered, and then once the project is complete, we can grade the success of the project in terms of the various parameters which were there, which could be measured, and which were met. So again, project management course teaches you many things. It teaches you about spreadsheets, for example, Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel, word processing, Google Docs, Microsoft Word. It teaches you about presentation, Google Slides, PPT, Keynote, etc. So this will take another 6 months of your time. So I would say that if you do these 3 different courses from Google and you are continuously taking them through Coursera, you can spend up to 18 months of time here, and certainly by this time you would have got the EAD, or you would have moved to a different visa status, maybe green card or something like that. Now, even if you do not, always remember that if you are a very good candidate, if the companies like you, they can always sponsor you for the H1 visa. And even if you are not somebody who gets the H1 visa, you could get into some program, for example, into a master's degree program in a university with financial aid, because sometime if you have done a lot of these kind of courses, you may be quite attractive to the university in certain departments. For example, you can try for the management department, the information systems type of people, and so on. And also sometimes universities may even have jobs where they may be able to get you the cap-free H1 visa. So remember, universities and non-profits can sometimes hire people without going through the H1B cap limitation. So that's something which is important to know. So again, I know that this is a difficult time of life of many people. Unfortunately, the immigration laws are kind of dated. They do not factor in that many of the so-called dependent people actually have career aspirations of their own, and whether you are on an H4 visa, whether you are on an L2 visa or an F2 visa, you want to keep your resume living, and one of the best ways you can do it is through various career certificates I mentioned here. Now, beside this, there are more career certificates also out there, but some of them are more expensive. So I will always suggest you that you do a calculation based on the cost versus the reward, and then make a decision on that, because you do not want to spend too much money because the outcome is uncertain. So that was my video for today, and I hope this video is beneficial to you. Please share it with your friends and people you know who are in this visa status and who may benefit from this video. And I will see you in a video sometime soon. See you then.